Oh, what does that mean?
And it's 6:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm probably going to be admitting people to the room as we go along, so just kind of bear with me on that. And I have some folks who said that they could join a little bit later. We're pretty flexible when it comes to our Tuesday evenings together, just because we recognize Tuesday is a big school night for some things, some meetings. It is hard during the week when you have little ones. But we found that this is the best time. Really, if you put out a survey, you're going to get folks all over the place. So we do our best, but just kind of bear with me as I let people in. We do try, okay, Jenny, I will make you a co-host if you don't mind. All right. And that way too, if for some reason my internet goes out, I've got a backup. Thank you very much. So we do try to start on time and end on time, although I am available afterwards for anybody who might need to ask questions or wants to talk in private. We can do that and stop the recording. But I'm so excited that you guys are here tonight. So I've seen you on your pictures that you sent to me for your yearbook. Those were posted to our social media account today. So I'll encourage you to go take a look at that. We like to celebrate each of you and really hope that we can be an encouragement as you join us for this year and this time together. So we consider you guys the class of 2022, and I'm hoping 2022 is better to us than 2020 or 2021 has been. We are a webinar-based program anyway. So we had shifted from being a statewide in-person event to more of a webinar series prior to the pandemic. So that was pretty easy for us. But it has created a lot of challenges when it comes to the engagement that you might have with your local folks in developing a project or getting more deeply involved in your school. So the last 2 years have been challenging for our parents. I'm hoping we're on the upswing, and just know that I'm here to support you in any way I can. So we'll get to introductions here in a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, but some housekeeping we need to go over, just because I know people pop on and off at different times. If you could sign in by putting your name in the chat box. I do keep track of who's been in attendance at the meetings, and then also who I send the recording to, and the recording will show me, we'll have you register and will show me that you've completed watching the recording as well. So each time we join, we'll just have you do attendance in the chat box.
So usually she called.
The other thing that's really important for the recording quality, like I mentioned earlier, is when you join, go ahead and put your phone or your computer on mute. We'd like you to share your video, but recognize that sometimes that's just not possible. There might be sometimes I'm not able to share video depending on where I'm at. So, you know, we're flexible there, but make sure that you're aware of what your audio settings are when you join, and then we will have time for you to pop in either through chat or to unmute, and we definitely encourage the participation as we meet together. Another important part of our time together is an exit survey, and we will do an exit survey at the end of each webinar. It's online, it's pretty fast and easy to do. And if you'll just notate, like tonight is orientation, so there'll be an other box, you'll just type in orientation for that. So you'll get a link at the end of this presentation. Please make sure you complete the exit survey. All right, so we're gonna take some time. There's 13 of us on the call. There are 28 people in your class. So a lot of people had scheduling conflicts, and some folks even, because I tend to send things in a BCC fashion until we kind of get to know each other, because some people reply to all, and it can start to really, flood your inbox. So I try to do the VCC so that you're replying just to me, but that creates challenges with sometimes the email going to your spam. So I just want to put that word out. If you feel like you haven't heard from me in a while, you can contact me multiple ways. I don't mind if you call and text me. That's in the signature line of my email. I don't mind you contacting me on Facebook through our Simple Facebook page. But reach out if you feel like you maybe aren't getting emails from me, or you feel like the communication is off in some way. I know a lot of school email addresses, and several of you have school email addresses. Our Pritchard Committee, being a .org, will actually get flagged as spam. So just kind of want to put that out there. But I'm going to open it up for introductions, and I'll start us off. My name is Laura Beard, and I live in Bracken County. I don't know, raise your hand if you've ever heard of Bracken County, or you know where Bracken County is. I see Sherry raising her hand. Okay, some others. We don't have an interstate that even touches our county, so I often feel like it's forgotten on the map somehow, but we do have Augusta, and Nick Clooney is from Augusta. So his son, George Clooney, right, went to high school here. So that's our claim to fame. But I am a lifelong resident of Bracken County, except for a short stint when I moved one county over and lived in Pendleton County. I worked for the Department for Behavioral Health before moving to public health in a family consultant role, and then the Pritchard Committee. So I've been actually doing family engagement work for about 17 years. Prior to that, I was a child care director and worked in a Frisky office. So family engagement runs deep for me. It's very important for me to see families feel empowered and engaged in their local districts. And so I am hopeful that you guys find networking and some sense of closeness, even though we're in the virtual space. I think sometimes the friendships you can develop through SIPL last a lifetime, and I've seen that happen, even though this is my third year. But it's been pretty powerful. My husband actually went through SIPL in 2014, and it was kind of it changed the way that he engaged with the school. I think it gave him a greater understanding of the importance for him to be involved. And so that's a little bit about me. I serve as the family engagement coordinator at the Pritchard Committee. We have a wonderful team of folks, and then we have partners who work with us on a grant to increase family engagement. You'll learn all about that through our time together, and you'll get to hear from some of our other team members. But I'm going to open the floor. Anybody wants to start, you can share as much as you want to, but recognize that we do want to hop off here at 7:30. Most of our times together, we might run till 8 because we have a networking thing built in. But tonight we're going to try to end by 7:30, and we can go ahead and get started.
I'll go. My name is Anna Jordan, and I live in Oldham County, which is outside Louisville. I'm originally from Ecuador in South America, so I'm bilingual. I do speak other 2 languages also. And I'm an ELL teacher, an ELL student, and my main role in the school system is to work with multilingual families and connect them to community services. So this class is going to be very important to me to understand the school system better, but also understand how I can help my families understand themselves, the school system better.
Thank you so much. Who's next?
I'll go next. My name is Jennifer Devine, and I am currently living in Franklin County, originally from Nelson County. And I work for the Department of Education in the Office of Education Technology. And I am a system consultant, project manager for all things K-12 internet in all 172 districts. So that keeps me hopping. And the reason why I have applied to be a part of this is the opportunity to learn more about family engagement. I spent 2 years on the SBDM Council of my daughter's middle school. She's now in high school, and I'm currently serving as the secretary of the Alumni Supporters Group for FFA. But really, I would like to help empower others in our school community to become engaged. It means so much, I think, to our kids, knowing that their parents value education and support and appreciate the work that goes on inside of a school, whether it's a teacher or some other staff person. So I'm looking to help improve too on opportunities for all students. I believe I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for someone giving me a chance, not just someone, several teachers throughout my education. So I just am passionate about that and am looking for ways to give back to my local community. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Jennifer. Glad to have you. Who's next?
This is Sherry Broderick. I'm from Gallatin County, so it's one of the smaller counties and very rural, between Cincinnati and Louisville, right on the Ohio River is where we fall. And I am a mom of 3. My oldest is in 1st grade, so we're new to like school systems in general. And a friend of mine is the principal, and she's like, "You need to do this." And so I said, okay, so that's why I'm here.
Great to have you, Sherry. And you have Becky Burgett, who is she's a board member. She's actually she was in the first ever civil class 20 some years ago. So it would be a great connect for you too if you don't already know her.
Yep, I know her and her family. It's a small town, so like Bracken County, you know everyone. So
right. Thanks for sharing. Who's next?
I'll go. My name is Corey Nolcox. I live in Jefferson County. My daughter, she's currently doing the Pathfinder online still. I'm a director over Medicare for Anthem. I did the parent engagement last year during COVID, so it was interesting. And they told me that I should apply for this, so that's why I'm here. So I want to learn more as much as I can.
Awesome. We're glad to have you, Corey. Are you a part of the PAC group in Jefferson County? The Parent Advisory Council?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I also have some connections for you. So good to hear that you were engaged last year. And I think I might have some folks I can connect you with that'll be super helpful as well. Glad to have you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'll go next. My name is Danielle Whiteside. I am in Jefferson County. I am a adoptive mom. So I have 3 adopted children, 2 who are 7 years old who are not related in the 2nd grade. And then I have a 6-year-old who's in the 1st grade. And I'm on our SBDM and on our advisory board. And I'm always just looking for ways to really advocate for children, especially children who may become out of trauma situations that sometimes teachers don't even understand, but maybe will immediately label a child, but being in foster care is trauma itself. And so it really has caused me to, just really try to be a voice for all children, understanding that, trauma looks a lot like ADHD. I'm also a therapist, and I'm a research manager for the University of Louisville.
Awesome, Danielle. We're kindred spirits. I'm also a foster adoptive mom. I failed to mention, but I have 3 children, 1 biological and 2 foster adoptive. So just kudos to you and the work that you do, and excited to have you on board with us this year. All right, who's next?
I can go. Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry. I'm Sarah Rohr. I you saw a cameo from my 4-year-old. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, so pre-K and second grade, from Madison County. So I guess I was interested in this for a lot of reasons, partially just to figure out how to be best supportive in the school, because still a little fresh to how to parent in the school system and kind of be a good advocate. I work for Berea College, and through that get to work with students who help support the schools through all sorts of opportunities. And I thought that was also a better way for me to understand how they might be able to help supplement or enrich, add further to the family engagement opportunities that are already on hand. So yeah, I'm excited to learn more about kind of the advocacy piece and also the policies that that trickle down and then affect all of our local schools.
Great, thanks for sharing, Sarah. We're glad to have you and all of our partners from Berea. So it's great. We have a lot of Eastern Kentucky folks this time, so I'm super excited. Dara, I think you were next.
Hello, I'm Dara Evans.
Dara.
Also from Madison County. I wanted to do this for 2 reasons. I have 3 boys. One's in 4th grade, one's in kindergarten, and one is in preschool. And I've definitely learned by the second one going to school that school is different for every child. It very different atmosphere from my 4th grader to my kindergarten and what they're experiencing at school. So really interested in the parent piece. I also worked for Berea College on a Gear Up grant. I worked for PFE. And so I really wanted to do this too as a way to give, firsthand knowledge of what this is. We always try to connect parents and get parents involved, and everyone will say, well, what is it like? I don't know. So I wanted to definitely do it for that reason as well, to be able to share.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you. All right, who's next?
I can go next. I'm Leah Murphy. I'm in Fayette County. I have a 4th and 7th grader, and I'm on the SBDM council at my children's school. I found out about the fellowship from my friend Meredith Raybold, who recommended it to me. And I'm interested primarily in 3 things. One is improving communication between parents and their school systems. I'm also interested in issues of equity, particularly as it concerns student access and identification to gifted and talented programs or magnet programs, as well as student mental health and safety. And I'm glad to meet everyone virtually.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. I'm so glad that Meredith reached out, and Meredith serves on our advisory council. So there will be opportunity actually during this time for you guys to meet with some of our former classmates and learn some of the work that they've done after they've completed the fellowship, and hopefully connect with them maybe if they live in your area on your project. So I'm glad that you have her as a support. All right, who's next?
I can go next.
Hi, Lydia.
Hey, Laura, thank you so much for all the technology help. I'm Lydia Aiken, and my kids are both grown, but I do have 2 grandchildren, one in kindergarten and one in 3rd. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I am a clinical supervisor for KVC Behavioral Health. And one of the things that I've seen is the need for mental health in the schools. And so I was talking with Martina Jackson. She's running for district in our because I'm from Madison County. And she says, oh, you need to get involved with this. And that's how I got the application. So I want to be involved with Madison County schools, even though I don't have kids in the school. I think it's important for community members also to be advocates and engage in the schools.
Absolutely. And we're glad to have you and your perspective. And we do welcome parents, grandparents, even, community members who really want to work on family engagement. We do take the family lens to all of our work. And so I've not had anybody who found that challenging, no. I mean, because I think we're all in it for the right reasons, and that's to improve student achievement. And so we're just happy to have you, and glad that you were able to join tonight.
Thanks.
All right, who's next?
I can go next. My name is Carrie Mays, and I'm also from Madison County. And I have a third grader, and I'm really interested in the mental health piece as well, especially once we kind of return to normal and just seeing how that plays out. And I'm also interested in just forming more connections and figuring out how I can become more involved in the school.
Awesome, glad to have you, Carrie. And for those of you interested in more information about mental health or social emotional development, the neat thing about what we've done over the last couple of years, and my work at public health was like deeply rooted in social emotional work. So when I came to SIPL, I was like, we've got to incorporate this because it is foundational really to student learning. So we will have some folks who I have been friends with for quite a few years from the Department for Behavioral Health, as well as folks from KDE who will talk about some of the initiatives. So we will actually have a webinar devoted to that, and hopefully you can also make some connections and learn about some groups that you may have not heard about before that will serve as a resource. So I'm glad that there is an interest in that from this group. All right, who do we have next?
I can go next. My name's Bridget. I'm also from Madison County. I have a 5, soon to be 6-year-old in kindergarten, and I also have a little baby. And I wanted to do this because I just think that public education is the most important thing in the world. I was a STEM tutor last year for AmeriCorps, and I know that people have a lot of frustrations a lot of times, especially the past 2 years. And I want to be able to say to people whenever they have frustrations and whenever I have my own frustrations, like, this is what we should do. So that's why I wanted to do this.
Awesome, we're glad to have you, Bridget. And it sounds like the Madison County folks, you guys are going to have a lot of folks to kind of lean on, maybe even do a group project. So this is nice to see you so well represented here. Let's see. Eddie, I know you joined us a little bit late, so let me just kind of catch you up what we're doing. We dove into introductions. So we're, talking a little bit about who we are and where we're from and what we hope to get out of the fellowship. You're on mute if you're trying to talk. There you go.
No, I actually heard you and I got on as soon as you were doing the introduction. I apologize for being late, everyone.
You're fine.
I'm actually being a busy dad, taking my 14-year-old son to Taekwondo class, so I apologize for that.
No problem.
Eddie Weaver, I'm actually in Jefferson County. My current role is that of compliance officer for West Banco Bank. The thing I wanted to learn from here is just gain more insight, and also more importantly, just network with everyone throughout parts of Kentucky. I think sometimes we in our own silos, and if we all reach out to each other, we can all help each other out.
Thank you, Eddie. I completely agree. And that's one of the things that I don't like about the virtual setting, but that's why it's also important when you can join live, take advantage of that, because I know we're all busy, but the networking is huge. The content is certainly important, but I think the networking really drives the work when you know who to reach out to, when you know who to ask questions to. I am not the content expert in all areas, so I will impose what I can and share with you what I can. I'm more of a resource connector. I like to think that I know people in a lot of places, and so I like to connect people with similar interest. But I also am super excited to share folks from our staff at the Pritchard Committee with you throughout the year, as well as our partners at KDE, Berea College, National Center for Families Learning, and Learning Grove in Northern Kentucky. So we have a lot of people on the agenda. We have other parents who you're going to hear from, and we really try to be flexible with the joining live. But like I said, just you guys doing introductions tonight I think kind of sets the tone for moving forward. We kind of know a little bit about each other, and hopefully we can learn even more. And then Jenny is on, and unless I missed somebody else, I think Jenny is the only one who hasn't introduced, and she's kind of a guest with us tonight and is a SIPL grad. And so I'm not sure what class you were in, but if you want to talk about that, you can.
So yeah, I'm glad to see you all tonight. I'm a SIPL fellow, I believe class of 2015 or 2014. And I'm just so excited you all are doing this. I wanted to hop on this evening and just hear what you were looking forward to, and as I know what you have to look forward to. And I will say, yes, one of my closest friends I went through SIPL with, and I am so grateful to have that friendship, as well as all the ways that my life has changed as a result of going through SIPL. So I'm just super glad to see all of you here, and Madison County folks, as we get into the work, I'll be here to support you.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for joining us tonight. All right, so hopefully your picture is here. I know if anybody's like, oh, this is cringeworthy, right? I don't like to have my picture taken. So, but these are yearbook photos that I asked of you, and just to kind of put a face to some of the names. And this was shared out on social media. If you did not have an opportunity to share that with me yet, you can, and we'll add you along the way. But we're just excited to have this group together, and hopefully we can retain everyone. And you can kind of see here, we do have a pretty large class. There are some people who are not able to share their photo for reasons that they need to not have public photos out there. And so we respect that as well. So just wanted to give you a little glimpse of the class and some of the folks who might not be on with us tonight. So we have a leadership and learning goal in at the Commonwealth Institute for Parent Leadership. And if you haven't noticed by now, we shorten that down to SIPL. So really, you'll hear a lot of people say, I'm a SIPL fellow, or they might even say, I'm a G-SIPL fellow. And at one time, it was governor supported. So it was actually going to be an initiative taken on into like a governor's office spot for parent leadership. And that actually went away, I think, around 7 years ago, if I'm correct. So you might see or hear people refer to themselves as G-SIPL fellows. And I apologize, I have a little dog barking in the background. I hope it's not too distracting. But graduates are able to provide leadership in parent-school community partnerships that enhance student achievement. And so we have some beliefs in SIPL, and these come from a book called Beyond the Bake Sale. I would encourage you, if you have access to Beyond the Bake Sale, it's a great book to read if you're trying to deepen your knowledge around family engagement. I do have some copies at the office. We might be ordering some more copies. I know I don't have enough for the entire class at this moment, but if we do get another order in, I'll ship those out to you guys, because I think it's a really good resource book to have. But these beliefs come from that book, and that's: all parents have hopes and dreams for their children. All parents have the capacity to support their child's learning. Families and schools should be equal partners. And there's a framework that kind of lays that out, and it's called Dual Capacity Framework. So if you're taking any notes tonight, I would say like a homework idea would be to look up the Dual Capacity Framework, and that's Dr. Karen Mapp's work. So there's a nice infographic that kind of lays out what that parent-school partnership should look like and how to get there. High quality, equitable, and inclusive education is the shared responsibility of families, schools, and communities. Relationships with leadership are essential for system change, and families, students, and communities are owners in the school and therefore hold incredible power and influence. So I'm not gonna read every slide to you. You will get this PowerPoint in an email. I typically follow each webinar with an email the following day, just to kind of recap for folks who weren't able to join, and then to give you any resources that I might have shared via the webinar. So you'll always get the PowerPoint if there is one. So the mission, the SIPL Fellowship is designed to offer Kentucky families information related to Kentucky's education system and key topics relevant today to help increase success for all students. I'm going to kind of highlight the relevant today. So there are many things that would potentially take up time on the agenda in the past. And today things change within our school system so quickly that our topics sometimes change. And I think that's what's different about our public education system post-COVID, is that really some of the focus areas we had prior to COVID are not our focus areas now. And so you may notice that we shift a little bit, and that's okay, because if you're going to be in your community and doing this work, it needs to be relevant. So we can't be talking about the old system. We have to talk about the new system, and that system is being driven a lot by the things that are just kind of taking place, and we know things change day by day. So just to let you know that we will have people serve as contributors. This will probably be the most you hear from me. I will always facilitate the webinars, but I typically have guest speakers come in, and I'm super excited that your first speaker will be our President and CEO, Bridget Blum, and she will deliver information in our Big Bold Future report. And then we will also be providing each of you with your updated community profile for your county, or your district. So you'll get this district profile that will outline not only educational pieces of information, but also some, let's say, information from public health sources, information from the Kids Count data book. So it's just a really nice holistic approach to what's going on with our students. We have some goals beyond the leadership, and that's really, we want people to feel connected. A lot of times being engaged in a school can be challenging because the connection isn't there. And I know we've had a lot of family engagement events over the last decade or so that don't promote connection. So a school hosts a big event, but families really are isolated even at that event. There's not a networking opportunity. So our goal behind getting you guys together is that you guys make connections with each other. So that'd be great for those of you who live close to one another, but also great, like Eddie said, as far as getting connected to folks across the state. Understanding that what's happening with your student in Eastern Kentucky is equally important as what's happening with a student in Jefferson County. And even though the challenges may be a little bit different, we all want our Kentucky kids to succeed. So hopefully you're here for your student, but also understand that we challenge you to really think about all students in Kentucky. We're not trying to move the needle just for our own student. We're trying to move the needle for all students. So you build a network. Our hope is that you build a network of support, and we're going to provide you opportunity to do that. And then we're going to also give you a little bit of history of the Pritchard Committee. Some of you guys may be like, I've never heard of the Pritchard Committee before. We're deeply rooted in the CARA, Kentucky Education Reform Act. That's kind of where we got our start. And I like to say I think, because I love Friskies, I think our biggest claim to fame is that we really were the ones who kind of spearheaded this idea of family resource use service centers in every school. And so this will be the first year that every school that is eligible to have a family resource use service center, this is the first year that it's actually happening. So that's really cool too. Can you guys hear my dog as loud as I can hear my dog? Okay, it's really getting on my nerves. Typically doesn't do this. It's outside right now, but I can hear it. So yeah, so we're gonna kind of walk you through how to deepen your connection, and then also how to kind of understand the history of how we got connected together and what we're pushing forward in our Big Bold Future. Goal 2 is that leadership and decision making that we talked about. We encourage folks who start SIPL to think about a board or council, SBDM, maybe it's local school board, but you currently may serve in some role. We encourage you over the course of the time together to think about deepening that role or taking on another role. So that's always something that we're hopeful that maybe you come into SIPL feeling, you know, a little confident in terms of like the leadership piece, but you build some confidence with the connections you make, and you get connected to some of our education partners, and they have opportunities. That's the other cool thing about SIPL, is that some of our state partners have opportunities, and they'll say, we want a SIPL fellow for that. And I will be reaching out saying, you know, there's this council that meets once a month, and they do big things. And so that's really cool to have families at the table making big decisions. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's a goal that we have for you guys. And we want to support you in that way. I'm not the end all be all at our office. I'm really in that engagement piece, but I have a wonderful staff of folks who support the work through policy and, you know, K-12 policy, but also like post-secondary policy work, the research behind it. We can, if we don't have the answers, we can dig and find it. So I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that throughout the year. And if you have questions, we will find the answers for you. But we want to support you with the resources you need to kind of back you and scaffold you in leadership roles. So, you know, hopefully, I know through your applications, a lot of you are already deeply involved in your schools and councils. But if there's something you really want to do, we want to back you 100%. And so just tell us what you need. And then that kind of gets to this confidence. Our hope is that you kind of come in, you know, confident that your engagement strategies to some degree have been successful to this point, but you gain the confidence to take on some of those things that maybe you haven't done yet. Or for those of you who are just kind of getting your feet wet in the public education system, I think what we've seen in the past is that we've had folks who went through SIPL when their children were pretty young, and then they serve on their local school boards by the time their child's in high school. So building that confidence is part of our goal with SIPL. Gaining leadership skills, working on a parent leadership project, and understanding how that project can create a groundswell. You're going to hear us talk a lot about groundswell, and it's just our way of saying people in the community who care about education create a groundswell movement. So we're encouraging people to get together and talk about public education. It takes authentic partnership, and I'll be quite honest with you, we have large classes and it dwindles down to folks who actually complete all of the requirements. So we're super flexible. I want to see everybody finish, but I will tell you what has been the hang up, at least last year was a real hang up for folks. And I contribute a lot of it to this virtual situation that we're in. It hopefully will be a little bit better for you guys, especially as we go into the spring. But it's this development of your project. And so I don't want you to go through all the webinars, all the networking, and then get stumped by this project. We want to support you with the project. We'll do all hands on deck to help you with the project, but a lot of times folks don't reach out. So go ahead, even though I know this is like the first night and you're probably thinking, I don't even know what this project is. I don't know what it's about. When she says project, how big is this? We'll get into the nuts and bolts of it as we go along, but I just want you to start brainstorming and thinking about, if you could change something in your local district, what would it be? And what would you need in order to do it? And I think whatever you're passionate about is going to really help develop a project. I think sometimes people are trying to develop a project based on, you know, something that they've seen that we've put out or something that their school is doing, but they've not done it based on their own passion. And that's kind of where they get stumped. So a lot of you talked about mental health, social emotional. If that's where your area of passion is, start thinking about maybe that's where my project should land. Maybe that's the focus it should take. But like I said, we'll get more into that, but it's really important that we have some authentic participation. And we want that to bubble over into your participation at school. So we want to have a community of parents committed to school improvement. We're trying to really mend that relationship and trust between parents and schools. And I say mend because I think COVID exposed the fractures that exist in the relationship between parents and the schools. And what we do is we take a solution-based approach. So if you come to SIPL to complain about the school, you're probably not going to get real far because we're trying to always find solutions. So we do talk about barriers. It happens. I have a child with an IEP. If anybody on the call has ever had a child with an IEP, at some point the relationship with your school has felt a little fractured. So I get it. I empathize. We've all been there. Things are not always great, but recognizing that there are a lot of things that contribute to that. I'm going to just kind of put it out there that school safety has contributed a lot to the decrease in family engagement. Now, is school safety necessary? Absolutely. We want our kids to be safe. But when we lock our school buildings down and we require identification for families to come in the door, we also are creating a barrier to engagement. So some things have happened just out of the need to change policy. And some things have happened that we know there are easy solutions to. And I can tell you that the cool thing about the work we're doing is we don't just work with parents, we work with the schools. And you're going to hear about the work we're doing building this family-friendly school initiative. And so they're going to be ready for the parents who say, I'm ready to engage. And so our big authentic participation end goal would be that these relationships are mended. The development of parent participation and leadership skills. So we hope you increase your skills. And then the ability to influence and process and outcomes of an issue. So what you need to attend and what you are responsible for. The virtual orientation is what we're doing tonight. Hopefully in your email, you noted the webinar series that we have planned. And so they're on Tuesday evenings. There are some times where it's going to conflict with something else you have going on. Just let me know that you're not able to make it and that you need the recording, which I will send to everyone, but it's nice when you let me know, hey, I can't be there, because that way I know you're still engaged. I know you're still, you're still feeling like you're connected and you want to be a part of this. And if you're tonight feeling like this is too much, hey, we've all taken out a lot over the last couple of years, or we've had to change the way we commit to things, and that's okay. We let people come back in who can't finish. So if you applied this year and you feel like, gosh, this is a lot and I'm not going to be able to do it, it doesn't exclude you from trying again at another time. This community leadership project, like I said, and it really should say district leadership project, but some people choose to do it in their community. We'd really like you to do it in your local school district, but sometimes it does bubble out into the community. And then we will always have a networking, what we call cafe. We're kind of changing the name to family room, but it's if you're familiar with the cafe process, it's a way that we talk to one another. We do that at the end of each webinar. So that gives us a chance to kind of put the content aside and just get to know one another. So sometimes you'll have to hop off after the content, but from that 7:30 to 8 o'clock time, that's when we're going to spend time networking, and we'd like you to stay on for at least 2 of those. And then with the community profiles, we really encourage you to have a Groundswell Gathering in your community. That is not the same as your project. This is just a conversation that you're going to have. It can be with just a few friends at a coffee shop. It can be on Zoom, or it can be in a big space with a bunch of people. But we'll provide you with your community profiles and help you learn how to facilitate a conversation around student outcomes. You don't have to be the content expert, and you don't have to be the person driving what action anybody's going to take. It's just a way for you to make your community aware of where your local district stands. So what does the school report card say? What do these community profiles say about the holistic things going on with our children? things like premature birth weights, other things that affect development, substance use in your county, you know, how much spent per student, per pupil spending. So many things to share with your community, and we call those a Groundswell Gathering. So I've really already talked a lot about the webinars, so I won't spend time here, but just know that the webinar is where you're going to get your content. You can always join and watch the recording. The Groundswell action that we'd like to see happen from your leadership project, just some examples are innovation in education and equity in education. Those are some of the things that were highlights of last year. We will require by April 15th a one-page report and 5 PowerPoint slides. It's not huge. What goes into your project is more the development of the resources that are needed. Unlike when Jenny went through, we don't stipend a project. So we may help you find a sponsor for your project, but we don't actually stipend a project like we have in the past. Just simply because most of the projects that people do don't require funding. And we found that people were still passionate about it without the funding, and it's actually hard to get that funded. Now, what we can do is that if you complete the fellowship and your project has spurred a Groundswell action, we can add that to our we keep a Groundswell action map and highlight that. And some of our SIPL candidates have actually been picked up by funders to keep their project going. So a lot of times the project is like a one event thing, but it has a ripple effect. But some projects actually live on. So you start a project and it becomes a regular thing that's done in your local school district. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. But as far as the reporting goes, the reporting's pretty easy. One page, we want to just kind of know some bullet points about your project, a summary, and have some PowerPoint slides because we share our project out with everyone prior to graduation. And I'm kind of just going over this in a high level detail, but we'll get kind of down in the weeds as we go along about the project a little bit more. I talked about the networking participation for the half an hour after each webinar. Usually those are led by former SIPL fellows. So, well, they're still SIPL fellows, but they're in former classes. So that's a really cool way to meet people from previous classes as well. Let's see. Some things that we provide, we obviously coordinate the webinars. Our January retreat could potentially be in person for one day. We're not going to be able to do like an overnight. I think COVID is still too much of an issue for us to try to pull that off. A lot of people want to still meet in person, so we're going to try to do that. But if not, we will have a virtual retreat. We did it last year. It was pretty good, but it's a time where if you haven't thought about your Groundswell gathering yet, using your community profiles, that we go a little bit deeper into that information. We also invite all of the SIPL fellows to attend, so it won't just be your class. So it's just a nice way to connect as well. In April, we hope to have an in-person conference or summit. It may also be more like a one day, just depending. But if you're coming from far away, we try to have it centrally located. We could probably do an overnight stay. So there will be an April summit. We send a letter of recognition to you, to your school, and for you to use if you want to do send a release like to your local paper. We do host a graduation, and all of our graduations since I've been here have been virtual, but hopefully you guys will be the class that will actually get to graduate in person in April. And then we provide opportunities within the Groundswell Initiative to increase education advocacy. I'm going to share with you tonight that we have just opened some new spots on our advisory council. Those are stipend positions, so it's $20 per hour of the meeting. It meets once a month. And so if you would be interested in applying to be on our advisory council, we need to increase our parent participation. So I always try to recruit from our new classes if you'd like to join that. And you can just drop your name in the chat and put out beside of it advisory council, and I'll know that I need to reach out to you with an application. But there will be opportunities like that that come up throughout our time together, and we will share them as they become available. I'm talking a lot and getting winded, but I'm trying to get us off of here by 7:30. So how can we get started? If you are on social media, I would encourage you to join us. We don't do all of our communication there, but we do a lot. Just to kind of understand who we are, the Pritchard Committee is our umbrella organization. Within Pritchard, our program, SIPL, has its own page. So you'll see the Pritchard Committee page, but you also see the SIPL page. I would encourage you to like both, but if you are like me and you're like, I can't fill my newsfeed up with more and more things, SIPL is where most of the content geared towards parents will be posted. And then several of you have already signed up for Groundswell. If you haven't, it doesn't commit you to anything per se. You're already in SIPL, so you're committed to SIPL. But Groundswell just gets you on the listserv for all of the things we have going on. And there are some perks to being a Groundswell member. So I would encourage you to join Groundswell. And that also serves as a lifeline to connect with the Pritchard Committee once you're finished with the fellowship. So you're still part of Groundswell, you'll still be connected. And then on our website, you'll find the Big Bold Future Report. And that is something that you'll hear about later on this month from our president and CEO. This will be the only time that we actually have 2 webinars scheduled, with the exception of January and our retreat. And tonight, like I said, is just orientation, but our actual first webinar series will be on the Big Bold Future Report. So if you want to kind of get a heads up on it, you can peruse it. And then I'm going to this and come back to it, but here are all the things that I'm going to send you in. I might try to put them in the chat in a little bit, but this will all be in an email tomorrow, but I want to kind of walk through what they are because there's a whole lot of links here. It is helpful, I know, for me and probably for you to not have to dig through emails. And I don't want you to have to dig through emails. So if you are Google Doc savvy, I have created an all-in-one place Google document, and I will post everything we talk about in there. I will also send it in an email, but if you're like me, I don't like to have to search for things all the time in my email. So this all-in-one place document will be there. You have access to it as an editor. My only caution with that is please don't delete anything that's in there. I'm fine if you add something, but don't delete. There's going to be a column if you have questions or comments or something you need to tell the group or make the group aware of, or if there's a question you have, some kind of information you need for some work you're doing in your child's school, or you need to know about something that's happening at the school, is that, you know, what's the policy around that? Anything like that can be dropped in that question column. And I'll show that to you here in a minute. And then the second link is to our Family Friendly Schools initiative. This would take up an entire webinar on its own. So I'm just going to give you a high-level overview. We are working with 59 schools and early child care centers to increase family engagement. These schools have signed on. They have an MOA with us, and they are committed to increasing their family engagement strategies. And in doing so, we have created a new resource for those schools. I think you guys may find your project within that resource. There is so much stuff in there, and there's so many strategies to help you get started that I wanted you guys to have access to it. It does not actually get sent out to the general public until November. It is only right now circulating amongst the 59 schools who are piloting it. So you guys have kind of first peek at this resource before most every other school in the state. So please, you know, don't look at it for your own personal use right now, because there would be a lot for me to unpack for you to really use it as the way it's intended. But it's a really good place, like if you're able to read up on some things, for you to go and start thinking about your project and developing your project. And I will be taking you step by step through it in November. We have also happening in November to kick off this family-friendly schools initiative for the entire state, a Family Engagement Week. We have the governor who has signed on to proclaim it as Family Engagement Week. I hope to promote a lot of the things that we're doing in SIPL that week and encourage you guys to participate with hashtags on your social media and join some of the events that we have planned. So you'll have a link to get plugged into that week. Our Pritchard Committee site is overwhelmed with resources, I think. We've been talking about that recently, like it's like a library, a digital library, and sometimes that can be cumbersome. But I do want you to know that if you go to the Family Engagement tab, you can find out a lot about the work that we're doing there. So always kind of like consider that home base for the work that we're doing. And then my email address, and then the exit survey that I'll need you to complete after tonight's webinar. All those things, along with the PowerPoint, will be sent to you tomorrow. So I need to take a breath, and it's 7:26. So we have some time, and I have some folks interested in advisory council. That's great. You can unmute if you want and just chat, or you can put it in the chat box, however you feel. But any questions? I threw a lot at you tonight.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you tell us what does the parent on the advisory council do, or just tell me about the advisory council?
Sure. So we got a grant 3 years ago called the Statewide Family Engagement Center Grant. It's through the U.S. Department of Education. Our partners are actually KDE and other folks that I mentioned. And within that, we are required to have an advisory council that has 51% or 51% participation from parents. And so what we need is to increase our parents on that, and we try to cycle them in and out. So we just do this once a year where we kind of ask if there's anybody interested in serving in this role. And what they would do is really look at our projects within the grant, even help us develop new projects, and then serve on subcommittees to do the work, make decisions. So there's sometimes we vote on things. This Family Friendly Schools initiative, that was really grassroots through that advisory council, and they made the connections to the people who needed to be connected to the work, and they served as the focus group. And like I said, for the parent role on that advisory council, you do get a stipend. So it's really furthering the family engagement work that we have through the U.S. Department of Education grant.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Laura, this is Eddie.
Yes.
I had a question to ask you as regards to our webinars. Is it the same time as this evening from 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. on Tuesdays? And then on the Tuesdays, is it once a month or every week? I just want to get a better understanding.
It's once a month. That webinar schedule was in the email, but I'll also put it in the all in one place document. But we try to have those. The next one is scheduled for Tuesday. What's that date?
The 19th.
19th.
Okay.
Yeah, so that, like I said, this is just kind of like a needed thing we had to do, because just jumping right into the Big Bold Future report is kind of tough without having this orientation. But it'll kind of fall on that third Tuesday each month.
Okay. Yeah. And then one last question in regards to working within, will I be working individually on my own for the project, or will I be working with others within the same district as I am? I'm trying to get a better understanding.
That's up to you. So some people have had success working in pairs or in a group. The only issue I have with that is that people contribute to the weight of the project, and you make sure that it's equal. And then that each person has to submit a one-page report with slides. So you might do the project together, but I want your take on how the project went, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Definitely use each other if you can. I think for people who are worried about the project, if you're a team kind of person, it really can help to have those people with you. If you like to do things on your own, you can do it that way too. So we're pretty flexible there. And you can also actually look at some of the work we have going on. I'll share that last year we had a SIPL candidate or a SIPL fellow who was looking at the coping with COVID surveys that we had put out, and she decided to do interviews with families and got connected to our communications person, and they did a project together. So it was like family stories from COVID. So that was really exciting. The advisory council meets on the second Tuesday of every month, and it is in the morning. So I know that's a barrier for people who work. It is from 10:30 until 11:30 on Tuesdays, second Tuesday of the month.
Will you at some point provide us with any examples or presentations on past projects to help us kind of gauge the scope and mission of what we should be focused on?
Sure. The really cool thing that I have from last year's class is they did a report out via Zoom. And so I can actually send you the whole recording where they give their, now it's, it's like an hour long because they're giving presentations, but I think it would serve as a nice kind of example. So, yeah, absolutely. And we will kind of, after the Big Bold Future report, in our networking time, we'll talk a little bit more about the details of the project, and you'll actually get a project form. And so the project form has a wealth of information in it, but I just don't want to overload you guys too much tonight, like throwing the project information on. And I maybe have hyped it up too much that, oh my gosh, there's a whole lot. There really isn't. I mean, we're once a month, except for, this month and then the retreat month. And we do try to keep it, flexible so that we realize people are going to miss. And it's, like it's 7:32. I want to go ahead and hop off of here. For those who need to leave, go ahead and hop off. But if you want to stay and ask questions, I'll stay on for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So.
Thank you. I'm going to drop off. I got to go pick up a kiddo from swim practice, but thank you so much. I'm looking forward to getting to work.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer.
And are you going to send all that information in an email tomorrow?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It takes me a little bit to download the recording.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll download that after we get done here, and then I'll have that all available in the morning to send out. But I also, I'm cool with text messaging. So if anytime you want to, don't depend on the emails for our only communication. If you want to call me, talk about projects, SIPL is a good chunk of my job. So we can set up individual meetings to talk. So if you want to talk more, you certainly can.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Say hi, Kaden.
Hi.
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 Thank you. Say thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You as well.
Laura, are you sending the surveys tonight, or are they going out tomorrow? Because they said
they'll be in the email link tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Because they were acting like, after that. Okay, that's good. All right.
Yeah, I used to send them right after, but then it just kind of getting an email tonight after it, then getting an email in the morning. I'm more let's condense everything to one space. So you'll have the email tomorrow, and then you'll have the Google Doc with all the same information from the email in the Google Doc.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the nice thing about that Google Doc is it'll just build on the information. So each week we'll just get added to it.